Welcome troops, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and today I wanted to discuss a development in the Battlefield 1 community surrounding netcode. Now, there was an update in the spring patch which fundamentally changed a few things about how netcode works in Battlefield 1, and more specifically, it did affect a small minority of players in Battlefield 1. If you scroll through the Battlefield 1 subreddit, or even the Battlefield CTE Reddit, there is lots of angry posts about games not working anymore, hit registration being terrible, and all in all, netcode issues. And today I wanted to address those exact issues that people are noticing. What is it exactly that DICE has changed, and put to rest some of the misconception going on surrounding netcode, which will clearly show you guys that the netcode changes made in the most recent spring patch are actually a fantastic change and a great thing that DICE has done. So what exactly has changed? There's been two key changes in how DICE is working with netcode and some of the gameplay experience that you guys have had since the patch. The first one is to do with ping, and the second one is to do with kill trading. Kill trading is now in Battlefield 1, and this is in there by design, and this is a fantastic addition to the game. Battlefield 4 had kill trading, but it wasn't because it was supposed to. It had kill trading because of an issue surrounding lag and netcode, where somebody would kill you even though it would appear that they had already died and they shouldn't have been able to have fired bullets. Whereas now in Battlefield 1, when two players have fired a bullet at the same time, or two players have fired bullets at each other, but one of them has been killed, their bullets no longer disappear. The bullets that they have already fired before death will now continue to travel and impact the enemy player, and as such, you can see some good examples of kill trading happening, which is how it's supposed to be. I feel as though bullets should not be magically disappearing. So in previous iterations of Battlefield 1 and even earlier Battlefield titles as well, you could near enough connect to any server regardless of what your ping was to that server, and if you had a very high ping, there would be lots of scenarios where you had an advantage over other players, and other players who were trying to shoot you felt as though they were being completely cheated out of the gunplay engagement that they were taking part in. This is quite difficult to explain, and I'm going to leave a link down below to a video by Battle Nonsense who explains exactly how ping works in relation to your connection and how it works in relation to gameplay. But to summarize as best as I can in a brief way, if somebody is experiencing a high ping, which means that their connection to the server is significantly longer or takes longer than somebody who has a lower ping of about, say, 30, then there is a huge issue here. So if I'm in the United Kingdom and there is somebody who is in Asia and we're both connecting to a European server, I'm submitting data to and from the game server and back and forth. That exchange of data is happening significantly faster for me than somebody who is in Asia, where it's taking a lot longer to send information to the game server and then send information from the game server back to his client. And that creates a huge issue where things like me shooting at them or them shooting at me becomes problematic. So previously, before the Battlefield 1 Spring Update patch, if a high ping player fired at me, there would be instances where I would be behind cover, or there would be instances where I'd run around the corner and I'd still receive damage because the game is compensating for the fact that they have a higher ping. There would also be instances where I'm firing at the player and they have gone behind cover, or they have perhaps moved position, and my shots haven't registered on the high ping player because for him, he is in a different location and the information he is submitting to the game server says that he is in fact in a different location. So if I were to shoot at somebody who was about 20 meters in front of me and he runs around the corner, on his screen he's ran around the corner and he has submitted that information to the game server, and on my screen it appears as though he hasn't turned that corner and I should have been getting some damage on him or potentially even killed him. Now this has changed in the new patch. The way it works now is that ping is now being cut off at 100 milliseconds. So if you're anything above 100 milliseconds, high ping advantage players now do not have an advantage. It's been switched over. If you have above 100 millisecond ping and you're firing at players who have low ping, your shots are registering less and your shots are not actually accurately being portrayed in game. And the reason for that is because you're firing at players who on their server and on their game client point, have moved positions, have done different things, all within the brief amount of time that it's taken for you to fire at them. So in the example that I gave you where I was firing at a high ping player and he's ran around the corner, now when that high ping player appears to have run around the corner, I actually would have had those shots register and that high ping player would have died. Whereas if he was firing at me, that high ping player's shots did not register because I have moved location, and perhaps he feels as though now he is being cheated out of a gunplay engagement. So now it basically has flipped around. High ping players no longer have an advantage, and low ping players do have an advantage, as it rightly should be. Now the way servers work and the way gameplay environments work is that low ping players should always have an advantage because they're playing on local servers and playing within the regions that they're supposed to be doing so in. There has been huge outrage on games like Battlefield and Rainbow Six Siege because players with 120 to 200 ping plus are getting kills that they shouldn't have and winning engagements that simply they should not win. So what exactly can you do about all of this if you are a high ping player, or perhaps if you're a low ping player? Well, it's pretty simple. Just play on your local servers. Play on the closest demographical servers to you. If you live in Brazil, play on South American servers. If you live in Europe, play on European servers or US East servers. And it's quite simple to do that. And you can surely band together enough players to do so. There will be players in Asian servers who are now playing on Asian servers because they simply cannot play as well as they could in US servers before. So these servers will now be repopulated with players from the regions that are supposed to be playing within those regions. Now what about cross-region play? Well, I can still play in a US server. There's no reason that can't happen because my ping on a US server or a US East server is below 90. And I'll give you a quick idea of what is a suitable ping for a server. So anything below sort of 60 milliseconds, maybe even 40 milliseconds, is a good ping. If you can get below 40 milliseconds on a ping, you are near enough doing a great job, your internet connection is strong, you're transmitting and receiving data incredibly quickly, and you'll have a snappy gameplay experience. From about 60 and lower, that's also good. From about 90 lower, you're starting to push it, and anything above, I'd say 110 ping and lower is starting to get pretty loose. So if I were to play on a European server, my ping would probably be in and around the region of 20 milliseconds, whereas if I'm playing on the US East server, it's in and around the region of 70, so therefore, I will have snappier gameplay experiences on EU servers, but that doesn't necessarily mean to say that I can't play on US servers, and this will apply to people in all kinds of regions. So if you're experiencing this issue in Battlefield 1, you really need to start looking more towards the gameplay setup that you have. What servers are you playing on, and are they local to you? And how is your PS4 connected to your internet or Xbox One or PC? Now, another way that information can be lost in the transmission of data to servers is through packet loss and jitter. Now, you may notice sometimes when you're playing on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll get these little symbols that are going orange and red saying that there is something wrong. And that is an indication that you are either losing packets or your ping is spiking. When you lose packets or when your ping spikes, it means information is either taking longer to transmit to the game server, or it means that information is being lost because there is an interference between your internet connection and the device you are playing on. So to give you an idea of the setup that I run, I play PS4 Battlefield 1 and PC Battlefield 1 via a LAN connection. I am using a LAN cable connected from my router to my PlayStation 4 and PC, thus ensuring that there is no interference between my Wi-Fi or to my console, or any kind of interference that could happen in between a Wi-Fi signal and my PlayStation 4 or PC. So therefore I am ensuring that I'm having no problems with packet loss or ping. And to give you a good idea of how exactly this works, I live on the top floor of my house, the very top floor, third floor, which means that my router is on the bottom floor. So if I were to not play with a LAN cable, there is a very good chance that if I were to jump into a Battlefield 1 server and I experienced loss of packets or potentially high ping spikes, that means that there's interference with my Wi-Fi connection, which means that I am losing engagements in-game as a result of information being lost or not transmitted correctly. So realistically, there are three things you can do. Change your setup. Make it so that you're using a LAN cable, because LAN cables are the best way to play any kind of shooter competitively, or even at a non-competitive level. It gives you the best experience. So realistically, buy a LAN cable. Just buy one. You can get some that are like 40 meters long. They're like £2. Really, you should totally do that. And you can even connect a LAN cable to a second router upstairs, and then plug multiple different LAN cables into multiple different things, as I have done. Secondly, check out your router's connection. It could be that your ISP is unstable, and that your internet provider is not giving you the best experience that you should be having. So if you've been given internet that you've been promised, but all of a sudden your internet's spiking, your download speeds are going up and down, you're experiencing packet loss, you're experiencing ping spikes, then your internet provider could also be an issue. And finally, play in local servers. That's near enough all you need to do to avoid this issue. So the final last question is, have DICE done anything wrong? No. They have made a fantastic change, which means that the majority of players who are low ping players in Battlefield 1 are now experiencing much more solid gunplay and a greater gameplay experience, which should be entirely commended. And players who have high ping and are not playing in their own regions are having trouble, as they should. Now, the only real issue that DICE could perhaps address is some of these server locations. There is somewhat of a black hole in between areas of Asia and the Middle East. So, for example, in and around the region of about Pakistan, Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, and some of the south areas of Asia don't necessarily have the best servers. So they could perhaps do with some. But beyond that, there is no reason why anybody should not be able to play with a ping of below 90 or even below about 100, which is a reasonably healthy way to play the game. Like I say, anything below 50 to 40, you're doing a great job and you'll have snappy gameplay experiences. So LAN cable up, play in your local servers, and you won't have this issue. That's about it, guys. I just feel as though this was necessary to address today. I saw so much hatred being directed at a fantastic gameplay design change, and I feel as though vocally explaining what the hell DICE did and how great it was is worth doing. So I hope this has clarified a few things, and I hope it makes a lot more sense. Now, like I say, check out Battle Nonsense's video for a better description as to how netcode works in Battlefield 1. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next video.